After New Zealand's victory at home in the inaugural World Cup, the tournament moved north 4 years later to be staged in Europe. One country that won through the qualifying competition was the United States. Captained by lock Kevin Swords, they were looking to build on what had been a successful campaign in 1987 and perhaps even progress through to the knockout stages.
In '87, we actually won our first World Cup game ever. We played Japan. We were hoping actually to do better than that, obviously, in the next World Cup, which was the '91 one. But then we got the draw, and it was Italy, New Zealand, and England. We were playing in probably the toughest division, and so, our expectations realistically were, let's make it, as best a showing we can.
The Eagles kicked off their campaign against an Italian side that played the quality of rugby, which was to gain them Six Nations status 9 years later.
Chance here for Francescato, the Italian scrum half. Tremendous play by him. Will he score? Oh my word! An outstanding try by Ivan Francescato.
We were close for a while, and then I can't remember exactly how they got away from us, but I just remember after the game how disappointed everybody was that, this was our best chance, and we had sort of let it go.
Disappointing it may have been, but there was some personal consolation for Swords.
Swords on the far side, goes to Swords. Goes for the gap, drives over and gets there.
3 days later, and the Americans' next challenge was billed as their very own World Cup final.
We had, knew about the All Blacks, obviously, and everybody was talking about, nobody beforehand was talking about the Italy game, that is the people who were our supporters, or any of the people who were over there from the other teams. It was one of the greatest memories for the guys who played that game, was just the anticipation of the game. As we got on the field, they did the haka, and we stood there midfield watching them, and I think everybody in there thought, we have a chance in this game as good as anybody else. We might not be the rugby players that they are, but there's not a team, not a person on the field that didn't think they were as good an athlete as the person across from him.
Chance for Chris O'Brien to nurse this near touchline. John Timu coming up underneath it, but beautifully taken by Mike Williams. Here comes the secondary shutdown. Andy Earl goes for the line himself. After some 25 minutes of play then in this first half, we've had a first try. And New Zealand are in the lead by 7 points to 0.
We had a couple chances early in the game where the ball bounced one way, the ball bounced the other way, and we might have, with a lucky bounce, scored a try, and I think we had a knock on, but fortunately it didn't bear out. They beat us pretty good. We had they scored a couple tries late, so the score didn't look as good as we would have liked to have done, but they beat us in the end. They beat a lot of people, but that was such an exciting game for us all. It was the highlight of most people's rugby career, especially up to that point.
20 years on, Swords is still involved in rugby, coaching the next generation of players who may one day follow in his footsteps and lead the Eagles in a future World Cup, or perhaps even the Olympic Games. But for him, the USA's final match in 1991 against eventual runners-up England will live long in the memory.
I can still, relate to people just getting off the bus at Twickenham. We had to walk through a tunnel of a couple hundred people who were all cheering us on, patting us on the back. And literally, you arrived in the locker room with goosebumps, and you just couldn't believe that, how excited you were for the game. The whole idea of playing England in Twickenham was just something that none of us could ever imagine.
Is Nelson to score? Nelson scores for the United States.
It was just a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I think you go to a man and everybody would say the same thing. It was the best rugby experience they ever had in their life.